education has always been high on Madiba's agenda. It's always been high on his consciousness. We saw the love that he has for children, for youth, and he always always spoke about education being your passport to life.
Yeah, certainly. You know, over the 20-year period, we have come to love to complain a lot as a nation. But many people fail to realize just how much has been done around education in this country. Purely because for Madiba, education was very important. If you look, if I may speak for higher education, which is where I come from, I mean, in 1990, if you look at the numbers of the participation rates of black people, comprehensively, I'm talking about blacks, Indians, coloreds, and you compare it to today, it is several times increased. You know, and if you look at the number of academics, yes, black academics, black professors, you look at the number of black people heading universities in this country, all of these things would not have been possible without this man for whom education was so important. And the number of black engineers, accountants, you know, you could count them by the fingers of your hand in some of the professions by 1990, 1992. So, I mean, he really believed in education, not merely as something you do among other things, but as the thing that young people should invest their lives in. I mean, of course, his own life has been an example of that. One of the few lawyers qualified in the 50s in this country. You know, so he knew what education can do, and he kept on saying this famous saying of his: education is the only weapon with which you can change your future.
And he entered Wits University as a young student, you know, probably just a handful of black students in the entire university at that time.
It wasn't fashionable. It was very difficult. I mean, to enter Wits University was a matter of luck.
Exactly.
Among other things, because it wasn't a black university. As you will know, there were quotas and all sorts of
yes, in the Separate Education Act, the universities were separated according to race.
Yeah.
You know, I myself am a product of the so-called Indian university called the University of Durban-Westville, and that's where my activism began, and that's where my political conscientization occurred. I just want to talk to you about the level of political conscientization amongst students today. You know, where would you place it?
Well, you know, it's an interesting question you ask, because your Mandelas were student activists, if you like. Your Bikos were student activists. Even your Sisulus were very much student activists. So if you're saying, do we still have that kind of level of political maturity and consciousness and vision that the Mandela generation had? I would say yes and no. Yes, insofar as politics are a very important part of student life at the moment. But I have a sense that politics that occupies students today is very much party political. And not so much the politics of
broad-based
of the arrangements that we have in the country, the social arrangements, the economic arrangements, and so on. So it is still an important element of student life, but perhaps someone like Madiba could urge us at a moment like this to return to the real politics, student politics that can change the direction of a country.
Just a final quick question. You know, his first job was as a security guard at a mine. I mean, how would you describe his journey, Madiba's journey, for him to get from that point to university? It's
an amazing journey. For someone who basically, as he himself says in his book, was destined to look after cattle. And ended up even being a guard at the mines was some kind of elevation from where he came from.
Being unemployed.
As he says himself. Sure. And to end up with a university degree, I mean, it tells you that anyone out there, any boy or girl out there, with odds against them, can be what they want to be. If Madiba could be it at that time,
yes,
I think we should be inspired to do even more now, because we have the opportunities that he didn't have.
Yes, and he's made opportunities available to youth of today through the struggle and through the negotiation process.
Certainly.
Exactly. Prof, it's been wonderful talking to you this morning. Thank you very much for joining us in studio. We're going to now cross over to Griselda Lewis, who is standing by in Houghton. Griselda, what can you tell us?
Well, good morning to you once again. Tributes continuing